Rogue Radio, now available on Mixcloud at mixcloud.com/Rogue Country. Keep it rogue.
Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by Rogue Country. Rogue Country is probably the thing I'm most proud of being involved with outside of my own personal project. So outside of, Mike West and Into the Van, Rogue Country is really what I'm super proud of being a part of and getting to work with and finding, modern country artists and roots artists and blues and folk and murder folk and all those type of artists that don't get the mainstream recognition they deserve. As you probably know, mainstream country has had this battle since Hank Williams about authenticity and corporations and, actually respecting artists. And it's a whole big thing that even bleeds down into the smaller independent organizations and things. It's a really crazy, dramatic world if you become a part of it and if you choose to participate in that type of thing. With Rogue Country and my own kind of outlook, there's just no point to it. They don't like you, we don't like them. We just crack on and consider ourselves separate. Rogue Country is providing a platform to those artists we think that don't get the mainstream recognition they deserve, and I include myself in that category. So Rogue Country and Rogue Radio are doing phenomenal things for artists outside of the mainstream. So if you like my type of stuff, proper traditional country, folk, murder folk, any type of roots music you can think of that isn't mainstream, it's catered for on Rogue Country. And it's such a positive, inclusive atmosphere. I'm so proud of it. So go check that out. As always, today's episode is brought to you by The Next Life. The Next Life is my debut record that I'm super fucking proud of. It's 9 tracks long. It lasts for 33 minutes and 30 seconds. And I'm going to drop a track in for you now just so you can hear what it's like.
As the fire dies and we say our goodbyes, I hear the ghost of me say, all the battles we lost and the wars that we won go on to define us someday. We'll let the summer pass and move on at last to the seasons that make us age. But at least I will know that the older we grow, in the chapters we share the same page.
And I really hope you dig it. The reviews and receptions and reaction to it has been so positive and so overwhelming that as a new artist, I've only been doing this for 4 years. To be doing this and to get this reception on my first record is truly humbling. And, when you write a song, you don't know what people are going to react to. And when you record an album, you know that people are going to react to this collection of songs. And it's a really terrifying ordeal. So the response has been absolutely mind-blowing. To segue into today's guest, Bella White, I heard her album Just Like Leaving the other month, and it's fucking phenomenal. A bluegrass country album that is just so steeped in tradition and respect of what country music and what bluegrass music is, while, Bella's only 20 years old, and her insight and knowledge into these genres is truly breathtaking. And we had such a fun chat talking about, her upbringing from her father, who's from Virginia. She's Canadian, so she has this kind of, perspective from traveling through Canada and then to Boston and Nashville that is really unique to Bella and her music, and it shines through. And Just Like Leaving is such a phenomenal record. When I heard it, I knew I had to sit down and have a chat with Bella about her songwriting process and working with other people to bring in different instruments for the record, and touring. Obviously touring's out the window with the pandemic at the moment, but we talk about prior to that, plans for the future, and it's just an all-around great chat. So I don't want to keep you here too long when we could be having a fun conversation instead. So without further ado, this is Into the Van episode 19 with Mike West and Bella White. Welcome to Into the Van with me, Mike West. Okay, so we're rolling, and thanks so much for joining us, like I just said. I was reading your bio before, and you're Canadian.
Yes.
Yeah, and have you, like, where are you based now? Is it Nashville?
Yeah, I'm in Nashville right now.
And what was the move, like, how long have you been over in the States for?
Well, I moved first before moving to Nashville. I lived in Boston for a little bit over a year. And I guess I moved to Boston like late summer of 2019. Or maybe was it 2018? I can't even remember. I guess it was 2019. All of the years are like congealed right now. And then, so I spent just over a year in Boston. And then I've actually only been in Nashville for a few months now.
Oh, really?
Since like June. But I'd spent a lot of time here before like the pandemic, just coming and playing shows and hanging out. So it already kind of felt like home.
Yeah.
But I've just been here for a little bit.
Awesome. And was the move for your music to get a better reach, or was it like personal reasons, or was it just to, Nashville's obviously the home of country music. Was that the reason behind the move?
It was like a little bit of both. I definitely wanted to be here just because there's so much like exposure to good music here and great musicians, and the community is really rich here. So it's like a special place to be making music, but also it's just like, like on top of it from a career aspect, I just have a lot of friends down here, and it's like, it's just a special place for making music, I feel like.
Yeah. Also, and what was the scene like in Boston? Did you play shows there and stuff? Because you don't really, or at least as a like British person, there's no real music scene that I'm aware of coming from Boston. There's a comedy scene that I've been aware of, but
the Boston scene is interesting because it's like, I feel like it's this sort of hidden gem in a way. Like there's Berklee, the music school there, which has like, for the kind of music that I play, like kind of country bluegrass music, there's like an American roots program. So there's a lot of like really great kind of like blanket statement roots musicians coming out of Boston. And so I kind of like had like two of the people that played on my record, Reed Stetz, who played mandolin, and Julian Pinelli, who played fiddle. I met them through like the Boston scene. And then Patrick McGonigal, who produced my record, also was living in Boston at the time. And like, Boston just has this kind of contingency of like really great roots musicians because they've all kind of graduated through the Berklee program. So there's definitely like a scene there. It's just, I feel like a lot of people don't know about it. It's kind of like hidden or something.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about, was as a Canadian, obviously country music and, roots music has that kind of, archetype and stereotype of being the South. It's Tennessee, it's Nashville. But with acts like yourself and Call to Wall, Dead South, there is this Canadian, movement happening. And it's the same here in the UK, where there's this like underground current of like modern roots music that pays homage to traditional stuff. But it's still weird to like, you still don't expect it to be there, especially you don't expect it to be in Boston, you don't expect it to be in Canada, you don't expect it to be in the UK. But it's a really weird thing. Do you keep up to date with like modern musicians coming out now and from different scenes and countries?
I try to like keep up with it just because it's like I'm a kind of a case study of its own in that way. Like people are often surprised that I'm from Canada, and there are people like Coulter and like these like great musicians coming out of Canada and coming out of the UK too. And so it's like, I try and kind of like keep my foot in the water of like being aware of who's coming out and making music and playing, because it is really easy to just like pigeonhole the scene as like being the South. And that's just not true. Like maybe at a time it was true, but
And growing up, what were your like influences and what were you listening to, in your formative songwriting years?
Yeah, well, I feel like for one, my dad was in a bluegrass band my whole childhood. So he's actually from Virginia. originally and like met my mom and then moved to Canada. So I did like have this exposure to bluegrass music like ever since I was a kid, with him playing in a band, and he was often just like, if he wasn't playing it himself, he was like playing bluegrass and country music around the house. And so I had kind of that direct exposure. And then there's also like a lot of country music and like cowboy music, if you will, that comes from Alberta, where I'm from. And so there's like Ian Tyson. I don't know if you're familiar with his music, but he's like just kind of like a country singing Canadian legend. And he was like from a town like 45 minutes from where I grew up. And so I was kind of exposed to all that stuff. And then on top of that, like I did my own kind of like dipping of my foot in the musical worlds. And I really drew a lot of influence from like Loretta Lynn and Patsy Cline and just a lot of the kind of like honky tonk female singer-songwriters, because I thought they were just like, and I still think that they're so cool, and they were just paving the way, you know. Yeah.
No, definitely. It's really interesting to like have those influences and things. And one of the things that I got from like your bio and stuff is you're kind of trying to create like a contemporary, you know, bluegrass sound and bring in like a younger audience, because you're 20, are you?
Yeah.
So I'm 29, so there's not that much difference, but I still kind of wonder, because the main demographic and audience of country and bluegrass is like an older generation. Have you found like younger people gravitating towards your music more, or has that been like a present thing when you release this record?
I mean, I feel like with anything, like I remember it was always kind of funny because when I like first started playing shows, like the people in the audience were always much older than me. And I always like found that to be kind of interesting. I was like, oh, this is weird. I'm like 15, 16, and I'm like playing for all of these like 50-year-olds. Like, this is kind of weird. But yeah, definitely I feel like as I've like put out music and kind of like gotten a bit, you know, more experience like touring and whatnot, I do feel like there's this kind of surge of young people that are finding country and bluegrass music and are appreciating it. And then there's also like artists like, you know, we've mentioned Coulter Wall and like Molly Tuttle and Billy Strings, and all of these people that are like kind of doing a similar thing to what I'm trying to do, which is like make this traditional music really accessible for young people. Because like I think a lot of times younger folks just don't really know where to start because it's such a broad genre. Like there's so much to be heard.
Yeah, like definitely. I think it's really weird. I don't know if you've had this experience when I've been doing shows and I've been like in between songs or talking about like this song is about getting older, and you hear like a 6-year-old scoff. It's like, well, just because I'm like 29, it doesn't mean I'm not aging. It's just like, this is still like, my perspective. It's still
you're 60. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like all very relative. Yeah.
But with like this new resurgence, it's like, because I've been trying to wonder how to get quote unquote young people to listen to this type of music, and it seems that, especially from a UK point, there's not necessarily like a stigma, but there is like an idea of what country is. And it's there's a wave of people like yourself, and there's all like the Gems on VHS artists that are kind of breaking that mold. And I think this scene at the moment it's really breaking what a conception of country music was. And there's artists like Nick Shoulders and Willie Carlisle who are putting like almost like academic level schools of thought into it, and it's a really interesting mold. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this is in like the next 3 years.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time for it all. I agree with you. Like the whole Gems on VHS thing is so cool because it is like there's this big audience of like young people that want to consume this music, and then there's people, you know, like Sierra Farrell, and like they're like definitely breaking the mold and making people, like especially young people, kind of realize that it's not just like old people music.
Have you found that with your music, have people been like surprised at how young you are, or if it's like the other way where it's like people are surprised at your age that you're playing this type of music?
I think it's definitely like a little bit of both. I often find that people are surprised when they find out that I'm 20, and I think that's more of like a kind of like immediate shock reaction. People are like, what? And then they kind of get over it. And then I think part of the reason that they're surprised is like the latter of your question, which is like they don't expect young people to have like found this old music. So yeah, I would say people are usually kind of surprised.
And, you know, getting started, when did you first pick up a guitar? Like how old were you?
Well, having my dad like playing, he was like a banjo player and a guitar player. And so I kind of like had it around all the time, and I
Mm.
would like pick it up and play it really badly or like attempt to play it, but I never like put much effort into it. And then I would say maybe when I was about like 10
Mm.
was when I actually kind of like tried to learn it opposed to just like, noodle around on it. I think, yeah, maybe 10 or 11 was when I like started taking it a little bit more seriously.
Oh, cool. Like, I think I started around 12. Maybe I think I bought my first guitar. But then how did you approach, like, did you do open mics and things? How did you come up on the scene and, get like the playing in and start forming your own songwriting?
Yeah, I definitely did a lot of open mics. I remember like going around and I was like really little. I would always be like the youngest person at the open mics and I'd be like, I want to play a song. And so I'd go to open mics and then I would also go to a lot of like there's this big culture here of like bluegrass festivals and like camps kind of and like workshops. And so I grew up also going like every summer to like lots of different kind of like bluegrass camps and festivals. And so you would like do your lessons in the day and then in that evening, like everyone would just like kind of party and pick and play music, and it was really fun. And so that was like really formative for me too, because I got to be exposed to so many great musicians who like now are a lot of my closest friends. But at the time it was like, I was just this like little baby that was like so excited to play music. And then, yeah, just like jamming a lot. But open mics were really big for me too. And then I kind of started slowly playing my own shows and whatnot.
Awesome. And with the album Just Like Leaving, what's like the oldest track on that album? Like, do you remember which was like the one that you wrote first?
Yeah, I think it was All I Gave to You that was the oldest track on the record. I think I wrote that one like 3 years ago now, which is kind of hard to believe, but yeah.
No. Cool. And did you have like an EP or anything out before you went to this record, or did you have any like studios or like anything recorded beforehand?
Yeah, I made a record in 2016 that I actually never ended up releasing just because there was like a whole hiccup in the process, and then by the time it was ready to be released, it had been like 2 years, and I just like felt like I had grown a lot in that time, and the music was no longer like representative of what I was doing. So I didn't release it, but I do have like this unreleased record of songs that I think it's still good. I probably won't ever release it. But yeah, I had a little bit of like recording experience and studio time experience beforehand, which was helpful.
Cool. And like, what's your songwriting process like for the record? Say like I'm trying to think of a track and like on like Not to Blame. What was your process behind that song? Because I like to try and get into songwriters and how they tick, but asking them to just label their processes, such an open-ended question. But do you remember that track in particular?
I do. I remember that one. That one was funny. So that song's kind of like a little bit sassy. It's like a little bit of a, hey, you hurt my feelings, I'm mad at you kind of song. And so with that one, I remember it being like, I feel like I have like two kind of approaches for songwriting. Sometimes it's like this very like emotionally driven, just like I need to like get out my feelings onto paper. And then other times it's like a little bit more crafted and strategic. And I like do some like kind of like tactics or strategies for it. But Not to Blame was definitely just like a big emotional like regurgitation of thought onto paper. And it kind of just like came about. I was sitting on my friend's porch and I just like had a kind of like bad time with like a ex-boyfriend or whatever, and like went over to her house and I had my guitar there, and then I was just like, I'm sorry, I have to like try and write a song right now because I'm experiencing all of these emotions and I can't do anything. And it's almost like debilitating for me sometimes. I like have to get it out while it's in my brain. So that one was very much just like pen on paper, write song. But a lot of the time, like that's rare. It's more usually like I'll kind of set aside some time and like try and, like actually like flesh out a song like a little bit more thoughtfully.
Yeah. That's a cool, like Not to Blame. It does sound like it's, it is emotional. You do get that connection. Like I kind of picture it as it was either a phone call or just like a confrontation because it's like your mama brought you up that way.
Yeah.
Where it's like the worst thing you can do is be like, it's your mom's fault.
Yeah, literally. Mom is. Yeah, it was definitely a very confrontational time.
With that song and the record, obviously there's such gorgeous instrumentation on it. Was that done in rehearsal before the studio? And how did those, like, did you have an idea of the melodies or arrangements in your head first before you went to record?
Well, so the people who played on the record I'd been touring with kind of like a few months like prior to making the record. So we had like played all the songs a lot. And so I try with my bandmates to like make it super collaborative because I want to like work their strengths and I want them to shine too. So usually if I like have a new song or something, I'll like bring it to them and we'll just kind of jam it for a little bit and like see how it feels. And I'll just kind of like let them come up with their ideas. And if I like really don't like something, I'll be like, hey, don't do that. But it's like still my song, but you get creative freedom to an extent. But it was like a lot of just like collaboration. And we spent like 2 days in the studio before we really recorded anything, just like kind of making everything really like cohesive and like playing together and like getting into the groove of playing together again. Cool. But I try usually to like kind of let the people do their thing.
Awesome. And how long were you like touring like the record and the songs before you went into the studio?
We toured for like 2 months-ish, sort of kind of on and off. I was like playing lots of shows just like in the States before, and then was supposed to be like touring, you know, all summer after the record and like now on into the winter, but obviously that's not happening because of COVID.
I know, like it's such a absolute piss take. Like I released an album in August as well, and to not tour after you've released it, you just kind of like,
no, you're just like, oh my god, what the hell.
Well, so you were touring the States. Was that like a full tour of the States, or whereabout did you hit?
We kind of did like the whole like East Coast. So we would usually like, I mean, I was living in Boston at the time too, so I was doing a lot of like kind of like little small tours in like New England and like kind of almost to Canada, but we never really made it to Canada. I did some like other little, it wasn't like for the album, but I did like a bit of touring in Canada earlier in the year. But we would like, I think we started in Boston and then we went down, we finished in South Carolina. So just kind of like made our way down the East Coast.
Oh, awesome. And what were the crowds like? What type of shows were you playing?
We were playing like a lot of just kind of like bars and like some listening rooms, and we had like some good gig. Like in Boston, there's a really great venue called Club Passy, and we played there. And like I feel like for my music, like if I'm playing a show at a bar, I'll kind of like curate the set to be like a little bit more rowdy and a little more kind of bluegrassy and like spanky, if you will. But my favorite is like playing just like a nice listening room where people are like really there to hear it.
Yeah.
No, we had pretty good reception. I was happy with how it all went.
Oh, good. No, I think it's so important to create set lists. Like I've done when I've been playing like pubs and bars. It's kind of like I'll do a bit longer of an instrumental break. I'll do like the hard and fast songs first to try and get people's attentions, and then if there's a lull. But there's nothing better than like a listening room that's like so attentive you can hear a pin drop. And I don't know if it's because they're so rare as well, especially over in the UK. That it's like, oh my god, they're actually listening to what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's always a little bit alarming at first. You're like, whoa, you're listening to me? Oh god, I have to be thoughtful about what I do now. Yeah.
But with like the tour and stuff, did you find those songs like grew a life of their own before you went into recording, like from the initial writing and collaboration with the band? Like, because I know when I was writing my record, I recorded vocals in 2018 and then did a shit ton of shows, and then was like, I have to go in and re-record this whole thing. Yeah,
totally. I feel like that happens for sure with my music. Like the songs will like take on like 5 lives, in the period of time, like from when I write them to when I go and record them. And I think it's partly just because like they're a story already, and then they like almost like pick up more stories along the way. You play them shows all the time, and like, they just are constantly evolving. Like I feel like it's usually if I go back and listen to like the first little voice memo I make of a song in my phone to like the, mastered track for the record, it's like a different song almost.
Cool. And how long were you in the studio for to record the record?
We were in the studio for like just under 2 weeks. I think like 10 days, maybe 11 days. But it was pretty wild because we went in like March 7th was when we went in. And then we were in Vermont. The studio is called Guilford Sound, and it's like in the woods in Vermont, really beautiful and remote. kind of isolated, which was sort of funny because then COVID like happened like halfway into the time that we were there, maybe less than like 4 days into the time that we were there. The borders closed and everything went crazy and like turned upside down. But we were just like already isolated in the woods. So we're like, I guess we'll just see it through.
Like with your arrangements and stuff, and obviously you got the record done, was there any like talk about like holding the record back till maybe after the pandemic subsided, or was it you always had this release date in your head to go for?
Well, we kind of like, yeah, I mean, we definitely were gonna try and release it a little earlier than we did, but just like with everything that was going on, we were kind of, it just seemed like too much or like not the right time. But once we kind of picked that we were gonna do it in the end of September, we just kind of like stuck with that, and we were like, regardless of what happens, we'll put it out then.
Oh, cool. And like, what's the reception been like? Because I know over here there seems to be a trend of like you release an EP, and that's kind of like just what you sell at gigs and things. And then it's not until you release like a full record that people kind of not necessarily take more notice of you, but that's the hill you definitely die on for the next like year or three. What's the reception been like from that? Has it been like, I assume it's been overwhelmingly positive because the record is fucking brilliant.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been really great. There's been some like kind of, special things that have happened. I feel really proud of it, and I feel like it's been received better than I would have expected it to be, especially considering like the circumstances of the world right now. I was kind of like, oh God, it's just going to get like buried because there's so much happening. And on top of that, a lot of people are putting out music right now. And so I was like kind of worried that, it was just going to fall into, I don't know, the depths of all of the music that's being released and all of the things that are happening. But no, it's been like a really positive reception. People seem to be really liking it, which is exciting for me.
Yeah, no, good. And with like the bluegrass sound, was there anything in particular you were trying to aim for? Obviously you had like the mandolin and all the instruments on it. Was there like a particular sound that was like in your head what you were trying to aspire to, like a certain record or artist that you've been influenced by to try and like not necessarily emulate, but you wanted to try and get, you know?
Yeah, for sure. There was definitely like a few things I was kind of like looking for. One record that I really love, it like is one of my all-time favorite records, is the Grass is Blue, the Dolly Parton record. And like I loved what she was doing because she was playing all these like country songs but with these bluegrass arrangements, and I feel like that's sort of, I write a lot of songs that kind of like lean in that direction. So that record was really informative for the album, and I was kind of like making sure that we were thinking about it a little bit. And then also some of the like Stanley Brothers like original, just like super old traditional bluegrass with like the harmony singing is like really important to me. So I was making sure that we were kind of, really paying homage to that. And also like Reed, who plays mandolin on the record and does a lot of singing on the record too, he's like very into the whole traditional sound, and it's like really important to him. So it was really nice. We would like stay up really late just like working out the harmony parts and like making sure that they were, bang on with like what the Stanley Brothers were doing and whatnot.
That's so cool. With like the harmony is like, obviously you have to put some thought into it, but is it different to try and find that one person that will harmonize with you the best? Because obviously, how many people are in your band?
There's 4 of us total, including myself.
And how many of them sing backing or harmony with you as well?
Just 2 of them. So Julian and Reed are the ones singing on the record with me. Yeah, it's definitely like you have to be like selective about who's singing what parts, just because like the blend is so important. And luckily we'd like all sang together a lot already because we'd been like touring, and also all just like, they're both singers as well, so we have like a lot of experience singing together. And I actually lived with Reed before making the record too, so we would just like sing together all the time in our daily life. But yeah, I'm pretty like careful about because the singing is like the most important part to me.
No, and like with the singing, like did you ever take any like formal training on anything? Because I haven't at all, and I remember like the first record I did as like a metal band was awful. Like the singing on it's atrocious, and it was just through like years of practice that I got slightly better. But I know there's been certain people in like the country scene that I know that have taken like vocal lessons and things. Was it just through like your own ear and just touring constantly that you found your sound?
Yeah, I would say so. I definitely did like I said, like I grew up going to a lot of those
Mm,
bluegrass like workshops, and so I took some like harmony singing classes when I was little, but that was more just like to sing. It wasn't as much of like a formal vocal lesson. I never really took voice lessons, but I just sang a lot and had a lot of people be like, "Hey, that sounds bad. Do this instead." And then I think like that kind of shit. I feel like yeah, I learned from doing
mm.
opposed to, from like a structured lesson or something.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like I've talked to people who say they can't sing, and I think a lot of it is people kind of forget that the voice is an instrument in itself, and you have to, try. At the very baseline, you need to try because a lot of people just kind of draw their way through things. Like my dad, he can't actually sing for shit. Like he'll try and like sing out like Van Halen's "Jamie's Crying" and just murder it, but
Yeah, you're
I
like,
love it just because it's the way he sings it. But if
right.
people actually like put their mind to it and sing, it opens up like a whole other thing, and you just have to kind of like go for it in a way.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I feel like there people feel also a lot of the times like embarrassed to sing
Mm,
or something. They're like, they sing like as a joke, or they'll like, get drunk and go to the karaoke bar and like sing. But people don't like think of it as like a craft that you have to like
mm,
kind of like work on or like practice. They're just like, I should be able to sing because I have a voice. Like, and then
yeah,
they're like, why can't I sing? And it's like, well, because you've never practiced or
yeah,
you've never like tried.
yeah. I don't know if it's like shows like The Voice or American Idol or whatever where people just appear and start singing, but people think it's like an inherent talent, and it's just not. But it's a
Yeah.
really interesting thing, and like I kind of wish I took singing lessons and stuff. Like I went to university for music, and choir
Mm.
was compulsory, and
Mm.
I never went purely because I was like studying as a guitar player. And the second someone tells me something's compulsory, I'll never fucking do it in a
You're like,
million years.
not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with like the singing and stuff, you have a really like unique voice. Was that from, do you think, from Canada and, Boston and Nashville and stuff, picking up with different like scenes and things in like the bluegrass camps?
Yeah, I feel like my voice kind of, I used to like definitely, my dad would describe it as like the American Idol voice, kind of like you said, like, how everyone kind of sounds the same
Mm,
on those shows. I definitely, when I was younger, was like trying to emulate like
mm,
pop singing for some reason, because I like just like thought that's what people did. I thought that was what you're supposed to do. But it was funny because I like mostly listened to country and bluegrass music. So I like would try and sing like a pop singer, but I didn't even really know what that was supposed to sound like. Um, and then like I kind of realized I was like, oh, this sounds really bad. I should like sing just like how I want to sing or like what feels natural. And so I think I definitely like took a lot of influence from like the scene down here with like a lot of the country music and like the kind of ornaments that people sing with. And then also my dad, I think, had really big influence on my singing too, because like, he's from Virginia and sings like bluegrass and sings very like traditionally in the sense of like how like traditional bluegrass sounds. But I think I just sort of like picked up bits and pieces from everywhere that I went, and then they all just kind of congealed.
oh, cool. And would you say that's the same thing with like your songwriting? Because it's contemporary, but it's not so contemporary. Like I was talking to a punk band a while ago, and they like directly reference like Instagram and things like that. And I'm not sure if I've ever heard a bluegrass song actually talk about, like modern technology or things like that. Is it a hard line to walk as a songwriter in this genre to, try and maintain that contemporary feel and modern vibe to it while, trying to keep it traditional?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that's interesting that you say that because I've actually not really thought about that before, but that's totally true. Like you never hear people really talking about like social media or like technology really in their songwriting. And I think it is true. Like, I mean, as much as I want it to seem modern and accessible, I also want my songs to like evoke a kind of old time me sounding
Mm,
quality. So I think I do like really like reach for like the older things and like
mm.
older words almost, if you will, because yeah, I guess it's just like this false sense of the past that everyone's kind of trying to like hold on to in their like bluegrass and country music that they're making.
Mm. No, like I think that's true, and it's an interesting wave. I wonder when the first like bluegrass TikTok song will be.
Oh God, I hope never. I hope it will never happen.
No,
Or maybe it would be pretty entertaining.
Well, it's a weird thing, and like social media and stuff's weird, and I don't think humans have really grappled with it or adopted it really. And I read this thing, and I don't know if it's true, but it's definitely true from my end, where it was like, I've never in a dream seen my mobile phone.
Yeah, that's so weird.
And I don't know if like it's a awakening that you realize you've never actually done it, but considering it's on me 24/7, I've never once had a dream where I've answered like, or I've been scrolling through a phone. So
Yeah, neither did I. That's so crazy to think about. It is like it's on me like all the time. Like it's in my pocket right now. Like it should be in my dreams. You would think that it would be in my dreams.
yeah, but I don't know if that kind of, it just hasn't reached our like subconscious enough. So if it's not in our subconscious and that, it's not going to be in the songs, because creativity and dreams, from what I assume or what I believe, is kind of pulled in from the same thing.
Yeah, it's really interconnected and interwoven. Yeah, that's so bizarre. Now I'm just like thinking about my phone a lot. I watched The Social Dilemma the other night too, that like movie about, have you seen that?
No, I haven't watched it yet. I'm quite scared to.
It's pretty scary. I've been like thinking about my phone a lot lately. So this is very really like relevant with the thoughts I've been having.
Because I watched that Cambridge Analytica documentary a while back. And I was watching a few, and it's kind of like I am 100% addicted to my phone, and
me too.
My partner will tell you the exact same thing. And it's just like, at this moment in time, I'm not that bothered about like when they say how evil Facebook is, and I'm like, yeah, we know, but what?
Yeah. What's new?
Yeah, but whenever I install an app, I go through like the tick boxes and untick like audio, camera, and all stuff like that. Like I'm slightly aware of it, but I'm thinking The Social Dilemma is going to tip me over the edge.
Yeah, I definitely like know a lot of people that watched it and then like deleted their social media accounts. They were like, well, gotta get this out of my life. Which, I mean, obviously I don't feel like I'm gonna go that far. Also, I sort of need my social medias like to have a career right now during a pandemic.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, would you be on social media, do you think, if you weren't a musician?
It's hard to tell. I feel like in reality, I probably would be. I have this like part of myself that's like, no, I definitely wouldn't be. I would get rid of it. But like, of course, everyone would say that. I don't know. I definitely do use it to connect with people that don't live in the same place as me, and like to stay in touch with friends and family. And it is really useful for that. So it's hard to tell. I probably would be, as much as I want to say that I wouldn't be.
Yeah. I have a friend who's completely off social media, but I still send him things because like, just to keep him updated on like some of my music and stuff. But then every now and then I'll just send him something that someone's posted. But it's such a weird thing. And I don't know if I'd be off it if I wasn't a musician, because it's such a handy tool. But as a musician, like I've booked tours and like everything through it. So I don't know if Facebook and Twitter eventually implode under their own evilness, whatever. Like, I don't know what the alternative would be to booking gigs, because I can't imagine going back to like the Yellow Pages or whatever it was to book gigs back in the day.
Yeah, that'd be pretty horrible. It's such a tool. I feel like, especially in like the art industry, which is so funny because like it's the reason why musicians don't really make any money anymore either, but we're all so dependent on it for like, touring especially, and just like promotion too. Just like, I mean, if the internet wasn't around, like, I don't know if anyone would listen to my record, for example. You know, it's just like, it is such a outlet to, you know, put out art.
Yeah, it's really weird. My fiddle player, he only has a Nokia 3210, like one of the old ones from like the 90s. So it's almost impossible to get hold of him. And if I want to send him songs, I have to record them, put them in an email, and then send it. And I think he's got a work laptop or something that he'll actually get a hold of.
That's really funny.
Yeah, it's such a strange thing, but it's the weird balance between like social media and obviously you're 20. So did you grow up more with social media? Because I think I joined Facebook 11 years ago when I was 19. So if it's been around maybe since you were 10, 11, maybe?
Yeah, about then. I definitely, like, my parents were pretty like, I mean, so I'm a younger sibling too. So I don't know. I feel like I've talked to a lot of people who have like, who are kind of around my age, who have older siblings, who kind of, we can all like relate to the fact that I don't feel like I am among the TikTok generation. Like, I feel like I'm not like I could have been, but I'm not, if that makes sense, because I kind of just like was raised like how my sister was raised. So like I didn't have a cell phone until high school, and I didn't have, and when I did get a phone, like I didn't get an iPhone immediately. I didn't have a smartphone until after high school, or like the end of high school, I think is when I got a smartphone. And like Facebook, I wasn't really allowed to have Facebook until I was like a teenager. It was all around, and like a lot of my peers had it, but I just didn't personally, because my parents were kind of like, no, not good. We don't want to mess you up. So I wasn't personally using it, but definitely like was around, and I definitely think people my age like were influenced by it.
No, I always talk to my partner Siobhan about this, and I'm like, I'm so glad Facebook and things weren't around when we were in high school, because I just hate to see a video of me getting my ass kicked in like HD.
Yeah, I mean that would happen. It was definitely like, it was pretty weird. And when in retrospect, when I think about like how much like social media would like influence people's behaviors, especially teenagers who are so like, easily, they're so malleable. Like they'll believe anything.
Yeah, there is a reason Facebook, I think you're meant to be 18 to sign up to it.
Yeah. I remember kids would like lie about their age, when it's like, what year were you born in or whatever, they would like put whatever year you had to be at the time to have it.
Yeah. But do you think like the generation under us who have been brought up with social media as such an integral part of their life, do you think the next like generation of artists are going to like use more, like we talk about like Instagram and modern like influences and language isn't really used in songs at the moment? Do you think it might change to that with this new generation, like the kind of, not the de-aging of country, because that sounds like we're killing off all the old people, but there's a younger like generation of musicians? Do you think it's going to continue to a point where it is Instagram referenced in bluegrass songs, or that tradition is always going to be at the core of it?
It's so hard to tell. I definitely think that there'll be a bit more of it. I think because people write what they know, and like I feel like if you grow up, like if you're like a TikTok kid, I personally don't have TikTok, and I've never really gone down the TikTok hole, but like it seems pretty all consuming from what I've seen. And like I also think that it's like I definitely write about what I know, and like I don't know, like I grew up writing letters to people and like sending mail, and so like if you're not doing that, like I talk about that in the songs that I write, like talk about writing people, and maybe that will become like texting people in the future of bluegrass and country music. But it's hard to know, because it's kind of like you say too, like there is this very like important core of the traditional values that come with it. But yeah, that's a tough question. I feel like it will evolve into a more modern thing.
Yeah, I am excited to see the next like 5 or 6 years of it, to see where it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be wild.
Yeah. But with going back to, this was a massive social media tangent, sorry, but going back to just like leaving with the writing and stuff, obviously you put so much thought into it. Did you put in like any thought, or how much thought did you put into the track listing and the order of the album?
Yeah, we put definitely like we thought about it. I remember we had the whole record mixed and mastered, and then by the time it was all mixed and we were going into mastering, and then Randy, who mastered the record, kind of messaged me being like, okay, we need the track order now. And then I remember being like, oh God, I like really have to think about this, because I can't just like throw them in any old order. Like it has to be meaningful. So I remember calling Patrick, who produced the record, and we like had, I think, like a 4-hour long conversation about the track order, because like not only do you want it to sort of have some semblance of a story, but you also, want it to like be stimulating still, like, like just from like a more like technical standpoint, like if you're, play like a really peppy song and then like really slow song that aren't necessarily cohesive, like you'll lose people. And so you want to like, I guess, like I'm sure you can relate to, but like you want it to like keep your attention the whole time. And I mean, I feel like nowadays it's sort of silly, because not that many people buy CDs anymore or really listen. I mean, I guess vinyl's like making a comeback, but it's like funny because you like put so much thought into the track order, and then Spotify just like shuffles your music, or Apple Music just like shuffles it, or people don't even buy whole albums. They just download the songs they like. Yeah. But we definitely put a lot of thought into it. And the people who buy the CDs can, experience it, I guess.
Yeah, like I think the biggest giveaway that Spotify don't give a shit about like albums is they put shuffle play as the first choice.
It's so stupid.
Like
Yeah.
I have this awful tick of if I've been listening to an album since I was a kid, some like they'll put on the album, someone will hit shuffle play, and I'll just go over and stop it. And
Yeah.
you have to play from track one, or you won't play in this record.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I also find too, like, I don't know if you're this way, but like if there's a record that I've been listening to for a really long time, or like I know what the track order is,
Yeah.
like after a song starts or stops, sorry, if I don't hear like the next song, it's like I predict it before it happens. I'm like waiting for the next track to start. And then if it's not the right track, I'm like, something's horribly wrong right now. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, no, definitely. And with Spotify, I saw before the album you brought out 4 singles. I can't remember the songs off the top of my head, but was there a choice between like the first release and the like, you know, in between like for the 4th release and stuff? What was your thought process behind that?
Yeah, I kind of like my manager and I kind of like went and attacked those ideas together. And I think so. The first single that released was Broke When I Realized, and then we released The Hand of Your Raising. Then we released All I Gave to You, and then we released Not to Blame. And I remember for releasing, like picking the first one to release, it's partly just because it's like one of my favorite tracks off the record. And I was like, I want to share it. But I was kind of trying to like, I wanted to release something that did a good job kind of capturing the whole essence of the album. Because we kind of talk like the album sort of has like 3 tastes to it, if you will. There's like the kind of like more bluegrassy side of it, and then there's the more country side of it, and then there's like this kind of like songwritery, you know, vibe on the album too. And I kind of wanted to like release a single that for like each sound so that people could get a taste of kind of like what it was going to be like. So Broke When I Realized, I felt like did a really good job of capturing like kind of the country quality to the album. And then The Hand of Your Raising had this kind of more like songwritery, like folksy, maybe slightly more modern quality to it. And then, you know, All I Gave to You was pretty bluegrassy. And then Not to Blame is just like really straight ahead country. So that was kind of like the thought behind it, was like making sure that we like gave everyone a little taste of everything that it had to offer.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. And it's good to hear how much thought goes into, because I know obviously Spotify, like the CEO brought out that comment about, you know, if musicians just put out more songs, you know, it'd be better for them. And it is smart to like bring out those 4 songs to, you know, kind of get that, not necessarily traction, but to showcase what the album's going to be like.
Yeah.
But it's such a hard like line to toe, and I think you guys did it really well with the album to like tease it and like have those different tastes.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely like you don't want to give away too much. Like you don't want to put out the best song on the record, because then when the record comes out, you don't want people to like go and listen to it and be like, well, I already heard all the good stuff, like not going to listen to this anymore. So it is definitely like a fine line of like how much you give away and in like what capacity do you share it.
Yeah. And I saw on your link tree that there's a vinyl form to fill out to express interest and stuff. Have you had much interest in that?
We've had a lot of interest. So we actually have just gone ahead and ordered the vinyl, so it's being made now, which is
amazing. I'm definitely gonna have to grab a copy off you for that.
Yeah, definitely on my Bandcamp. I think it's up there. I think you can pre-order it.
Oh, brilliant. I'll drop a link in the description of this, and I'll definitely be ordering one myself. But do you think, like, do you listen to vinyl? Like, do you collect records and things?
Yeah, I do. We have a record player, and I kind of adopted my dad's vinyl collection too. So I have I have a pretty big vinyl collection. And then one thing that I like struggle with is it's really hard to travel with, or like I'm always afraid I'm going to get it and then break it. And I find most of the best records when I'm like on the road. And so if I'm just like driving, I'll definitely like buy a lot of records, but flying I find really sad because it's like hard to fly with, and I'm always afraid of breaking it. So I've kind of like slowed down in my collecting vinyl, and I'll really only buy records if they like really speak to me, or like I'm like I must have this. I used to be much more just kind of like, whoa, I want this one and I want this one, but now my collection's pretty big, so I've kind of slowed down a little bit.
Oh, cool. What have been like your recent gets?
Well, I found there's like this thrift store by our house called Music City Thrift here in Nashville, and there's just like this big bin of old vinyl. And so we found some like really good old bluegrass records. We found one that was just like a kind of like collection of like traditional old bluegrass music, and it had a lot of stuff from like the Stanley Brothers and like Doc Watson and Bill Monroe on it. And so that one's been really fun. And then we got it like an old Jimmy Martin record. And then we also got an old Ray Charles. We got one of the, have you listened to like the Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music, Ray Charles
No?
record before? It's really cool. He has this record where he's just like playing all these like big band arrangements of like country music.
Cool.
It's really awesome.
Yeah.
And so I have one of those, and those are kind of like my 3 most recent like favorite
I
records.
was like, I'll have to get that. I've got the Johnny Cash show pressing where it's like Johnny and Ray. I can't remember what song they're singing. It might be, is it Ring of Fire? But I have to like, call Ray Charles. I have to pick up that.
Yeah, I haven't listened to that, but I'll have to.
Yeah. No, like yeah, you guys have it in the States, like Record Store Day.
No, I don't know if we have Record Store Day.
So, like for all like independent stores, it's over in the UK. And I think like they all like release exclusive things on certain days. So I've picked up a few things like every year without fail, like Johnny Cash's estate will repress or re-release something, because I got the Folsom Prison Blues box set, and it's like all the unreleased tracks from like the different recordings.
Oh, that's so awesome.
But they do like really interesting things. Like they released this year, which I managed to get, was a Hank Williams March of Dimes, like 7-inch or a 10-inch, and it's his like when he was playing on some radio station for some charity. That was dead interesting. So there's some good finds with that, but I had to slow down on him.
Yeah.
Picking up records, because it is just like you can never ever stop.
No, and like once you accumulate so many, you're like, where do I put them all? Like I just have too many. Like I can't do anything with them.
Yeah, I always try. Now I try and make a point of getting like the new releases. So I'll get like your record on vinyl. I'll try and pick up like new stuff on that, and then I try not to get as many back like older records unless they're just like super rare to get hold of, or they're absolutely incredible. Like I've got a load of Christopherson ones. Nice.
Yeah, it's definitely like, it's also like the best way to support an artist is to like buy their vinyl, because they're like usually profiting the most off of it, and also it's like so expensive to press.
Yeah.
That like if you press a bunch of it, you want to sell it all.
Yeah, at the moment I've got just to the side of my computer, I've got like 6 boxes of vinyl that obviously if I'd be touring, they'd be sold. But at the moment, my cat is currently sat on the top of it, and they've been using it to sleep on for the last few years.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. So if people buy it, it's like a catch-22. Buy it and support me. But if you do buy it, my cat won't have a bed to sleep on.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
But with like your career and stuff, the really like one of the interesting things about yourself is you have this team to support your music and stuff. When did you kind of implement that, and what level did you think like I need to start getting support to push my career further?
I think that I started realizing that like kind of 2 or 3 years ago. I remember going to Folk Alliance and like playing all these showcases and kind of feeling like a fish out of water or something. I was like, oh my God, there's so many people that are trying to do the exact same thing that I'm trying to do. Like, I felt like I was kind of screaming into the void or something. I was like, how do I have a voice in this industry? And then I kind of realized that like everyone that was doing really well had a great team, you know, like there was like just having a manager is like a game changer. You have someone to do like the administrative stuff for you, and then you can focus more on like the actual creating of the art. So I think like about 2 years ago, I kind of like started realizing that I wanted to have a team of people helping me, and that it's like worth it. And then I slowly like picked up a manager and a publicist and like, you know, distributor and everything.
Oh, cool. And did you approach them initially, or was it during these showcases and things you managed to like find each other?
Yeah, it was kind of the latter. I feel like it was a lot of being like, oh, I want to work with you and I want to work with you. So like, let's work together, which is nice. And then my manager also had like a lot of connections for like publicity people and whatnot. So she did like a lot of the kind of just like dirty work of emailing people and then, you know, coming together.
Oh, amazing. It's so like interesting. I think it's a really strong thing that not necessarily is overlooked in the UK, but I don't think we have that type of person with that connections. And I think once you tour in the States, there's that kind of wealth of knowledge opens up to you. And it's really cool to like, I've talked like Charles Wesley Godwin and, you know, talking about like his team and things. It's such a good thing to see, like artists like yourself who have that talent get that level of support.
Hmm. Yeah, it definitely feels like if I didn't have that kind of help, like I don't know if my release wouldn't have been anything close to what it was because like, yeah, if you don't have the connections, you don't have the connections.
Yeah.
And it's like the only way you build them is by just doing it. But if you're trying to kind of like come out of the gate like ready to go, rearing to go, like yeah, it wouldn't have been the same if I didn't have my manager.
Yeah, and over in the UK, I don't know if it's the same over there. There's so many like jackals who are like trying to take an upfront fee to start managing you, but they have like zero connections. And I know because I self-released my own album, and it's just me and a computer. And I was emailing people, and I was getting stuff back where it was like, "We'll review it if you pay this amount," or "We'll do this if it's like X amount." And it was just like, it's a really hard place to navigate if you're just an independent artist, like on your own.
Yeah, I definitely like I've experienced that like kind of before I had a great team. I would have people kind of being like, oh, I'll manage you if you pay me this much money, or like I can make you a star or whatever. And I'm like, no, you can't. Like you are just like an old man that like lives in his mom's basement. Like you cannot make me a star. Like what are you talking about, And I think that people just like they see like young, especially I feel like with younger artists, they see this kind of like almost like naive, like fresh, wide-eyed, artist, and they're like, oh, I can like feed off of you, like I can use you to like fuel whatever I'm trying to do, but they don't actually care about your art or like what you're trying to do. They just want to make money off of you.
Yeah, no, it's such a pain. And with just like leaving, what are your plans in the future? Obviously touring's kind of at a dead end at the moment. Is there any sign your end of being able to do tours or even just solo shows?
Yeah, there's like a little bit of stuff in the works. I'm going back to Canada in a few, I guess actually just over a week. I have like some stuff going on there, and I'm actually going in to do some more recording, which is
awesome.
like really exciting. And COVID's not like, I mean, it's getting worse, but where I'm going in Canada, there's like very, really low COVID numbers. And so I'm actually going to be playing some shows, which is kind of crazy. I think they're all very safe and distanced and outside and everything. And it's like not the same, as like playing a big show in a sweaty room where everyone's like bumping shoulders. But yeah, I've got like some little things kind of in the works, and it's looking like, I mean, it's hard to know what's going to happen, but it's seeming like next fall touring, some degree of touring might be able to happen. But.
Cool. And with like tours, do you do like mainly solo shows, or is it with your band as well, or a duo, or how do you predominantly tour?
Right now it's mostly with a full band. I used to do a lot more just like solo stuff, and then kind of as I've like crafted my sound, I've been pretty like sure about wanting to tour with a band mostly, just because I feel like sometimes like touring solo can be pretty gut wrenching. You're just like just you and your guitar, like trying to make people listen to you. But if you play like a bad show with a band or something, you can all kind of like commiserate over it together and at least just like have fun playing the music. So I try to tour with a band mostly these days.
Awesome. And with the recording, will that be towards a new record in the future?
Yeah, so it's kind of looking like, well, I mean, we want to like release some singles in the next little bit, just because, like the way the industry works, you gotta always be pumping out the music apparently, which is just ridiculous. But yeah, so we've got some like singles, but I'm also really excited about that because I've been writing a fair bit with all of this downtime, so I have like a lot of new stuff and it's so funny because like it's the classic curse. Like as soon as you put out a record, then you write a bunch of new stuff, and then you just like want to play all your new stuff, but you have to like be promoting your record, and like, which is amazing obviously. But yeah, singles for some new stuff, and then kind of thinking about making another record next fall. So
awesome. And what's like the process with the new stuff? Because you were sat on like the Just Like Leaving songs for up to 3 years. With the new stuff, has there been I want to say this, or is there like I want to do something completely different to Just Like Leaving? Is there something you've got kind of like your mind set on for the new songs?
I definitely think that like with my newer stuff, it's like very similar in this, it's like coming from the same place, you could say. But I feel like I want to like maybe take some more risks, and just like, I feel like I put out a record and it's like very like straight ahead in some ways. Like it's cohesive and it's like accessible. And then I'm kind of like excited to like, I don't know, I'd love to like bring in some like pedal steel, some like drums, you know, like make it a little more, just like a little more out there, if you will. But I feel like I needed to, and I've always loved that, but I felt like for my first record, I was like, I just got to make this like really accessible, you know,
Oh,
and
cool.
then take maybe more risks later. So,
You know, that's such an interesting thing. Is there anyone like contemporary that you've been listening to that like has inspired that kind of change? Because I know like the big one at the moment was Sturgill Simpson brought out a bluegrass album straight after he did that like anime prog rock psychedelic thing. Has there anyone been like you've been like had on repeat lately?
yeah, I've been listening to Coulter Wall's new record a lot lately because I think one, he's like got the Western Canada connection, and that always feels like special. But also I think it's cool that record's just like, it surprised me when he put it out, because it's almost like the opposite of what I'm talking about doing, where it's like going from like a lot of that record of his is like really stripped down, and like it just sounds like it's just like him in a room with the mic and a guitar, you know. And that was kind of inspiring me to like almost do the opposite, like go full out on the next one. And then also like other Canada people too, like are you familiar with Casey and Clayton's music?
I've heard of them, but I've not listened to them.
They're super cool. They're kind of doing that like whole like kind of, it's like, I feel like it's a trend, like the kind of cosmic country thing right now, where they're sort of playing like a little bit like psychedelic country vibes, which I think is really cool. And they're also, you know, like from Saskatchewan in Canada, and they're great. I'm trying to think of other people. I've been listening to Sturgill's record. I've also just been listening to like a lot of old honky tonk music these days. And I'm always like, that makes me just want to put drums and steel on my next record so bad. I'm like, oh, I want the drums. So yeah.
No, I'm the same, because on my record, like I did an EP that was kind of like just guitar and vocals, and I did it stripped back and did like one take on each song. And this album I had like fiddle and pedal steel and stuff. And the next one I do want to add drums, because it was a lot of people were saying what I got one review that was kind of good, but it was also, they said they imagined harmonies, drums, and banjo. And I was like, well, that's not really my fault that you imagined a whole different record.
Yeah, that seems like that's your fault. Like,
like, I didn't imagine it like that, but it was a really weird review for me to just be like, I imagined it being better.
yeah, that is really strange. I find sometimes like reviews are so funny. They'll say things and you'll be like, that's definitely a you problem. Like this is like not, that's not on the record. Like, yeah, that's so weird. Interesting.
Yeah, but I definitely want to get like that drums, like just like the drums behind it, and that like the drum has completely gone out of my head. The snare drum, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell I'm not a drummer.
Neither am I.
Well, so you've got like the record, like you're going into the studio to record and tour. Is there any like anything on the horizon for a European or a UK tour?
Yeah, I actually, this is like a sort of another project that I'm a part of that's been more of a recent thing, but I kind of do a duo project on the side with this great fiddle player named Libby Whitenauer. And yeah, we've been kind of like working up a duo set of like songs we've written together, and also just like a lot of like classic country songs. And then she's a really, really great old time fiddle player, so we do the old time thing. And so we've been kind of talking about like as a duo coming over and doing some like UK stuff, maybe spend some time in Scotland. And so, yeah, that's definitely like in the works. And then I'm thinking, well, if we're going to do that, I might as well do some Bella White stuff over there too. So yeah, nothing's like booked or anything, but it's definitely on my mind.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And we've been talking for an hour, so I don't want to take up too much of your day. But just with this record, do you think like how it's been received and like your approach to it, do you think it's been received in the way that you intended the songs to be? Have you seen like, obviously writing these songs is so personal, have they hit certain people the way that you wanted them to?
Yeah, I think so, which feels really special. I've gotten a lot of messages from people kind of like sharing their experiences with my songs and like how they've, you know, interpreted the stories or how it's made them feel. And it's always like, sometimes like little things people will say will surprise me and I'll be like, oh, like that's not actually what I intended. But if that's your experience with it, like I'm really glad that it made you feel that way. So yeah, I feel like it's been heard in the way that I've wanted it to be, which is good. Yeah.
Good. So recording and tours, is there anything else you've got in the works for, the arse end of 2020, 21, 22?
Yeah, I mean, just mostly that, recording, touring, hopefully, doing, just making more music. But yeah, it's kind of hard to like plan too much too far out right now, just because who knows what's going to happen like next week, especially down here with the election and everything. It's just kind of like,
do you know what? It's hard because I'm British. Like, we hear about it constantly with the election and things, but it is kind of like hitting home a bit more than it is like next week. Like, I was on do you know Adobe and Teardrops?
I don't think so.
And they do a radio show with like country music and stuff. I'll email you.
Yeah, I do.
We should definitely send some things over. But we got quite into the election. I was on the like co-hosting their radio show this week, and it's such a scary and weird time. But that's a whole other podcast, I think.
Yeah, seriously, no, it is crazy. It's like it's in like a few days, and that's terrifying. I'm going back to Canada. I'm like, bye.
But as a Canadian in America, do you feel that tension kind of like removed from like, your personal like viewpoint? Like, even it's like you see it as from like a different perspective as what's actually happening around you?
I think I slightly do. I think as I'm down here longer, it starts to become a little bit more real, just because I like plan on living here for a while. So it's like definitely going to be a part of my life. But I do think that like I always just have this option of leaving. And so, that kind of like makes it maybe a little easier for me to process what's happening. Because like I'm just like, or not even easier to process what's happening, because I'm not processing anything. I'm just like, what is going on right now? But I think that it makes it easier for me to like compartmentalize and like disconnect from it a little bit in a way that feels like better for my like mental health.
And like, as a songwriter, have you ever been inspired or wanted to write from like a political standpoint, or one of those things? Has that entered into your head at all?
Yeah, it has. And I feel like I feel like there's a lot of like really great songwriters that are doing that. I just don't think I would do it as well as they do. So it's the kind of thing where I'm like, if I'm going to do this, it needs to be like very thoughtful, and like I feel like I would need to like put a lot of time and thought into it. And I just feel like where I'm at right now, I'm like not as informed as some of the people that are doing it, especially like with the American state of the world. Like, I keep up with the politics and I like try and be aware of what's going on, but like I don't have that intrinsic knowledge that I feel like a lot of these people that are doing that right now have. And so I feel like it would almost be like it wouldn't be super authentic if I were to do it right now, at least. Maybe in the future, but I've thought about it, but it's something that I would need to like approach very carefully.
Yeah, no, I've got one that was like, I went at it from like, this is my core belief. I've written this whole thing. I did research and stuff on it because I knew if I played it and someone pulled me up on it, I'd be able to like argue the toss.
Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah, but I've never just like shot from the hip with a political song or tried to do something like that. It's definitely one that you need to approach, not just from like a songwriting point of view, but from like a news point of view as well, which is a whole other level of songwriting that just takes it out of you.
Yeah, seriously. And that's the thing too, like I appreciate what you said about like how you like did research and stuff, because I feel like for me, it's like if I tried to write like a really politically charged song right now, and then someone who had like opposing beliefs to me like came up after a show and tried to argue with me about it, I would just be like, I don't know, like I don't know what to say. Yeah. So I think it's important that you can like back up what you're believing in.
Yeah. No, cool. Well, we've been chatting for an hour, and obviously I don't want to eat up too much today, so I'll let you go. But thanks so much for chatting with us, Bella, and I hope to see you in the UK soon. And we have to sit down again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And that is episode 19 of Into the Van, Into the Bag. I don't know how often I'm going to keep saying into the van, into the bag, but we're 19 episodes in and it looks like there's no signs of slowing down. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please go check out Bella White and her record Just Like Leaving. Go check out me with Mike West in The Next Life. Go listen to Rogue Country and Rogue Radio, and go just support the artists that you give a shit about, because it will always mean the world to them. Till next time, guys. Peace.